Shabbat Shalom. This week's Parsha Toldot, begins with a famous story of the two twins, Yaakov and Esau. And Esau, who came out first, was technically the firstborn, sold his birthright to his younger brother Yaakov. Now, the reason for why he would do this, well, the Torah simply says that Esau was exhausted and felt that he didn't have much longer to live anyway, and so he was willing, sort of just to get another few hours of life or whatever, to sell his birthright to his brother for the lentil stew that Yaakov was preparing. Others have tried to dig a little deeper to understand this odd act. Most surprising, perhaps, explanation was given by Abraham ibn Ezra, the famous 12th century commentator, who claims, amazingly, that Yitzchak, the father of the twins, was bankrupt. Though he had inherited a fortune from his father, Abraham was extremely wealthy, but somehow Yitzchak lost all of this, and he was totally penniless, which is why later on in the parsha, he asks Esau to go out and hunt him some food. There was nothing in the house for him to eat. And so, according to Ibn Ezra, Esau said, well, this birthright isn't worth anything anyway, because, my father doesn't have a dime to his name. But of course, even if that were true, which most people think was not true, the birthright was not just, money and sheep and goats, but it was the blessings that God had given to Abraham and to Isaac, and would be passed on to the chosen son, the next generation. So Esau was a real fool, a consummate fool, to sell this birthright to Yaakov. Now, another great commentator from medieval Spain, the Ramban Nachmanides, points out that the Torah tells us in a very concise, packed fashion just what a fool Esau was, by using a string of 5 verbs that come one right after the other, that summarize in these 5 words the foolishness of Esau. It says after the deal was done, Vayochal, Vayesht, Vayakom, Vayelach, Vayivez. Esau ate, he drank, he got up, he left, and he spurned, he rejected out of disdain the birthright. That simple. And Rambam says this is how the fool works. The fool thinks only of his next meal. He has nothing else to live for, no vision, no ideals, no goals. Just you fill your belly and get up and leave. So Esau serves here as a bad example. When I was a kid, I collected these little cards that were called wacky plaques. They were these sort of funny sayings, and one of them said, don't think you're absolutely worthless. You can always serve as a bad example. And Esau does that. Now, and it's not just that we should learn from him that there's more to life than just eating and drinking. And once you filled your belly and washed it down with some drink, then you can just get up and leave. We should also be on the lookout for politicians who think that, if they'll just get us our next meal, then, we'll let them do whatever they want. There's a lot more to life to that. And we see that in this parsha and succeeding ones in the life of the man who bought the birthright, gave up his lentil stew. Maybe he went hungry that night, but lived a full life and had the zechut, had the great privilege of bringing the 12 children, the 12 tribes of Israel. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.